Hello everyone, my name is Xiaoping Li. I'm a software engineer here at Sunrise Integration, and in this part we're going to be covering exactly how to set up our dev environment as well as start our very first project and run it in emulator. Sounds exciting, right? Let's go ahead and get started.
Alright, so here we are on the React Native Dev documentation. This documentation is for proper environment setup. In order for us to get started and start coding, we need to make sure we have all the proper software set up for our OS. In the specific tutorial, I will be showcasing it from the Mac, as the Mac allows us to run both iOS and Android. So in a way, the best OS to build a React Native application is a Mac, due to it allowing you to use both iOS and Android, but this isn't a reason for you to not use Windows as a platform to develop a React Native application, as there are ways to build to iOS using a framework like Expo. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at the documentation. We're first presented with two options. Number one, Expo CLI, which is basically a framework built on top of React Native, aimed at providing you all the tools already to get started as soon as possible. But again, not all libraries are available as of yet for Expo, therefore we will stick to the traditional option of starting our project off using the React Native CLI. Okay, moving on down, we need to make sure that we selected the correct one, which is the React Native CLI Quick Start here. Select our appropriate development OS, which would be the Mac OS, and as well as our target OS. For this instance, we'll go ahead and do Android first. Next, we can move on and do iOS. Okay, the very first steps that we need to do is to install our dependencies. We'll need Node, Watchman, React Native CLI as JDK, and Android Studio. So let's go ahead and run our commands first for installing Node and Watchman. So go ahead and open your terminal of choice, like so. Okay, let's go ahead and install Node. So brew install Node. Brew install basically is using a package manager called Homebrew to install Node for us, basically. And there we go, everything is all set up. To double check that Node has been installed, let's go ahead and type node-v. If it returns the appropriate version number, then Node is properly installed into your machine. Let's go ahead and clear the terminal. Alright, next let's go ahead and install Watchman. So brew install Watchman. Okay, next, Watchman is basically a tool that watches for any file system changes. This is used for the fast refresh feature. Okay, next let's go ahead and install the Java development kit. Again, they recommend us to just use Homebrew, so let's go ahead and do that. Just copy and paste that, hit enter, and it'll go ahead and install for us. And just like that, it's all done. Next, we need to go ahead and download Android Studio and install that. Alright, so all we need to do is go ahead and go to Google, type in Android Studio, and go ahead and click the first one. Go ahead and hit download. Read through the terms and go ahead and download Android Studio for Mac here. And let's take a second to download. Let's go ahead and open it and drag and drop. Alright, Android Studio is now in our applications. Let's go ahead and open it. Okay, with Android Studio opened here, we can go ahead and click on the three dots here to open our SDK Manager. With the SDK Manager opened, we need to double check to make sure that we have Android 10 version Q here checked and hit apply, and it'll go ahead and install for you. In my case, I already have it installed. Next, go to SDK Tools here and make sure that Android Emulator as well as the Android SDK Platform Tools here is already checked. So if not, just check it and hit apply, and it will go ahead and install the tools for you. Next, go ahead and check the Show Package Details here under the Android SDK Build Tools 31 here. Just make sure that we have 29.0 5.2 checked as well and installed. After that's done, hit OK. Okay, as for our last step, we need to go ahead and click AVD Manager here and make sure that we have a virtual device created here. In my case, I already have a virtual device created here. To create a new device, we go ahead and click here. Pick whichever phone size you want. And let's go ahead and make a Pixel 5 here. Hit next. Alright, here we have our system images. As you can see, there are a bunch of different types of images and different versions of Android. So let's just go ahead and install the latest one, which is R. Hit next. Alright, here we are. Next, you can go ahead and name your AVD or your emulator. We can also go back and change the options that we have chosen here. Startup orientation, our emulated performance, and device frame here, and there are also more options. Let's just go ahead and click finish. And just like that, we have our Pixel 5 here set up. Go ahead and click the start button here. And as you can see, we have our emulator up and running. It really is that simple to get your emulator up and running on Android for macOS. Now let's go ahead and configure our environment variables. So moving on down to number 3 here, in order for React Native to know where you installed your Android SDK, we need to go ahead and set our environment variables to point to that specific location. Alright, let's go ahead and configure our environment variables. So all we need to do is basically, just to double check first, let's go ahead and echo path like so. As you can see, we don't have our Android SDK set up as of yet. Let's go and echo our Android home, and a blank appears, meaning that our environment variables have not been set up yet. So let's go ahead and do that. What we can do here is just go do nano home bash profile. If you're using bash, go ahead and do this, or if you're using ZSH, then you go ahead and do that one. Okay. Go ahead and copy the correct exports like so, paste it in, Control X, say yes to save, hit enter, and just like that, we created a new file using nano. And let's go ahead and set our source. Next we want to do is go ahead and do source home/.z profile. And just like that, we have set our environment variables. Now let's go ahead and run the command and check again. As you can see, when I echo Android home, we now get a link directly to the SDK. And when I echo path, again, we get the link to our emulator as well as the SK tools, as well as the platform tools. We have our environment variables all set up. So let's go ahead and create our very first React Native project. Alright, so I opened the terminal here on my desktop, and let's go ahead and create our very first project. So in order to get started here, all we need to do is type npx React Native init and my first project. Hit enter. Alright, so here we go. We have it installed here. As you can see, we're having a CocoaPods install dependencies error here. This is because we have not yet installed CocoaPods as well as Xcode for the iOS side. Later in the video, we'll go ahead and do that. So let's cd into my first project, to my first project like so, and let's go ahead and npm install. Basically just install all the node modules, all of the dependencies for our project. Alright, now that our dependencies have been installed, next let's just go ahead and run Android. In order to do that, let's do npm run Android. It's going to go ahead and open our simulator here on the side here, as well as our Metro bundler here on the left. Okay, so our Metro bundler is basically in charge of taking all our JavaScript code and bundling it into a single JavaScript file. That's basically what it is. Here we go. We basically have our app running here in our simulator. Let's go ahead and check out the iOS side. Alright, going back to the docs here, let's go ahead and go back up to the top and select our target OS to be iOS here. Okay, again, it requires Node and Watchman, but in our case, instead of it being Android Studio, we're going to need to go ahead and install Xcode. So let's go ahead and go inside the App Store and go ahead and install Xcode. App Store. Continue. Xcode. And basically git and install. This is going to take a bit. See you guys in a few. Alright, now that we have Xcode downloaded, we're all set there. Let's go ahead and move on to our next step here, which is to install CocoaPods. So what is CocoaPods? CocoaPods is basically a dependency manager for Swift and Objective-C Cocoa projects. Okay, it's basically like a package manager here. So we need to go ahead and open up a terminal, like so. Let's go ahead and do sudo gem install CocoaPods, like so. Type in a password. Alright, now we have CocoaPods installed. Let's go ahead and list our view here. Let's cd back to our desktop. And let's cd into my first project here. Again, remember that error that we came across earlier. We did not have CocoaPods installed. So let's go ahead and do it here. So let's go ahead and do pod install within the iOS folder. It's going to go ahead and install all our dependencies here for us for the iOS side. Alright, let's go ahead and do npm run iOS. This will go ahead and run our emulator for us. And there we go. We have our React Native project running on the iOS emulator. And just like that, that's how simple and easy it is to just basically get it up and running.
All right, that's it. So simple, right? That's how you set up your dev environment specific to your platform, install the tools needed in order to get started, start coding, as well as run it for the first time on the emulator. That's right. In the next part, we're going to go ahead and create our own components, custom components, as well as import packages, and also include our own font into the project. I'll see you guys in the next one.